A tower of fire burns against a black ocean sky every single night without pause. This rig is deliberately torching millions of dollars of gas, but nobody is trying to stop it. So how did an industry built on selling hydrocarbons end up burning its own product? You are floating on a sealed world. No roads out, no neighbors, no quick escape. Every system on that platform exists for one reason: keeping those people alive. The flare boom is not decoration. It is as essential as the lifeboats bolted to the hull. The deep ocean, somewhere in a remote basin, present day. The drill string punches through thousands of meters of rock and hits pay. Crude oil, pressurized and ready to flow. And that wasn't even the part that got people angry, because riding inside that oil, dissolved under enormous reservoir pressure, is something nobody ordered and nobody can refuse. Gas. Associated gas. It hitches a ride inside every oil reservoir on the planet, compressed into the crude under conditions that make it completely invisible until the moment pressure drops. Think of a shaken bottle of soda. The carbonation is dissolved, invisible, perfectly contained until you crack the cap. The moment pressure releases, the gas comes screaming out of solution. That is exactly what happens when crude oil travels from a reservoir thousands of meters below the seabed up to surface conditions on a production platform. The pressure differential is enormous. The gas separates instantly, violently, and completely. You cannot negotiate with thermodynamics. Here is the critical point that most people miss entirely. You cannot drill for oil and simply leave the gas behind. The physics of reservoir mechanics do not allow selective extraction. The gas is dissolved in the oil under pressure. When that pressure drops, and it must drop for oil to flow, the gas comes with it. Full stop. No override, no workaround, no choice. Every single barrel of oil produced generates a corresponding volume of associated gas that the platform must deal with immediately. On a mid-size offshore platform producing around 50,000 barrels per day, the associated gas volumes can run into millions of cubic feet every 24 hours. That gas arrives at the surface separators continuously, relentlessly, and it is not waiting for anyone to figure out a plan. Short, sardonic observation, specific to the topic: the reservoir does not care about your gas monetization strategy. The operators celebrated their oil discovery. They shouldn't have, because with every barrel of crude came a problem they could not sell, could not store, and absolutely could not ignore. For a while, things actually seemed fine. The separators handled the volumes, the flare handled the excess, and production continued. That didn't last. Picture a warehouse full of valuable product with no loading dock, no delivery truck, no road connecting it to any customer on Earth. That is the stranded gas problem in its purest form. The gas exists, it has real energy value, and it is completely, utterly unreachable from a commercial standpoint. To sell natural gas, you need three things working simultaneously: a pipeline to shore capable of handling the volumes and pressures involved, a processing and treatment facility capable of conditioning the gas to market specification, and a buyer with a contract, a price, and the infrastructure on their end to receive it. In remote offshore basins, the deep water Gulf of Mexico, the pre-salt fields off Brazil, the frontier zones off West Africa, none of those three things exist at the moment the field comes online. Building them takes years and costs that can stop a project before it starts. Laying a subsea gas export pipeline from a remote deepwater platform to an onshore terminal can cost anywhere from $200 million to over $1 billion, depending on distance, water depth, and seabed conditions. Some fields sit 300 kilometers or more from the nearest existing infrastructure. At that distance, the pipeline capex alone can exceed the entire projected gas revenue over the field's producing life. The math is not close. It is not a rounding error. The pipeline costs more than the gas is worth. Operators are not burning gas because they enjoy watching money evaporate. Every cubic meter that goes up in that flare represents a revenue line that simply does not appear on the income statement. But when the alternative is spending $300 million to capture gas worth $80 million over the field life, the economics produce one answer and one answer only. Burning is the math that works. It is a brutal calculation, but it is not an irrational one. The stranded gas problem is fundamentally a logistics crisis wearing the costume of an environmental one. Natural gas in its raw associated form is invisible. It has no odor until odorant is deliberately added downstream for distribution networks. And out here on the production platform, there is no distribution network. Raw methane and its heavier hydrocarbon companions come off the separators as a colorless, scentless, highly flammable mixture that ignites at concentrations as low as 5% in air. 5%. That is not a large margin. That is a hair trigger. A production platform is not a clean room. It is an industrial environment packed with ignition sources. Diesel engines running generators around the clock. High-voltage electrical switchgear, welding and hot work operations. Exhaust stacks running at temperatures that will ignite hydrocarbons on contact. Every one of these sources exists within meters of live production equipment. If gas that isn't routed somewhere controlled finds its own path, through an open vent, a corroded seal, a gap in a flange, it will migrate. Gas seeks low points, collects in enclosed spaces, and builds toward flammable concentration without any visible warning. If that sounds bad, keep watching, because the accommodation module, the block where workers sleep, shower, eat, and spend their off-rotation hours, sits on the same structure as the production deck. There is no meaningful separation. A gas cloud that reaches the accommodation block in sufficient concentration needs only a single spark, one light switch, one static discharge, one electrical fault. The result is not a fire you can fight. It is a detonation. The Piper Alpha disaster in the North Sea in 1988 killed 167 workers, in large part because of failures in gas containment and ignition control. That number is not a statistic. It is the reason every offshore safety system you will ever encounter is built the way it is. You cannot hold the gas. You must route it somewhere controlled, and you must burn it. That is not a choice. It is survival arithmetic. The flare boom does not sit beside the platform. It extends away from it, deliberately cantilevered downwind of every living and working space on the structure. The positioning is not aesthetic. It is calculated. Combustion products, heat radiation, and any unburned hydrocarbon droplets must travel away from personnel, away from accommodation, away from electrical equipment. The geometry of the boom is a safety argument made in structural steel. Gas arrives at the flare tip through a closed header system, a dedicated network of piping that collects from separators, pressure relief valves, blowdown drums, and process vents across the entire platform. Nothing enters the atmosphere uncontrolled. Everything routes to the header. Everything travels to the tip. At the tip, a continuously burning pilot flame waits. This pilot light never goes out under normal operations. Its entire purpose is to ensure that the moment any volume of gas arrives, whether it is a small routine stream or a massive emergency blowdown, ignition is immediate and complete. This decision seemed small at the time. It wasn't.
The choice to maintain a permanent pilot rather than relying on ignition-on-demand systems is the difference between a controlled burn and an unignited gas cloud drifting back across the platform. Combustion converts methane into carbon dioxide and water vapor. That conversion matters enormously. Methane is a greenhouse gas roughly 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide over a 20-year window. Burning it is genuinely the lesser harm compared to venting it raw. The system is also engineered for scale, handling everything from a low-volume routine burn of a few thousand cubic feet per hour to a full emergency blowdown that can dump the entire platform inventory in minutes. The flare boom is not a last resort. It is the primary safety valve of the entire operation. Stand on the production deck at 2 in the morning, somewhere 200 kilometers offshore, and the flare is the loudest thing in the world. It is a deep, sustained roar, not a crackle, not a hiss, a full-throated combustion sound that experienced workers describe as the rig breathing. You stop hearing it consciously after a few rotations. It becomes part of the ambient frequency of offshore life, like the hum of the generators or the vibration of the drilling equipment underfoot. At night, the glow from the flare tip illuminates the entire platform in shifting amber and orange. New hands find it deeply unsettling the first time they see it up close. Veterans find it reassuring. That distinction is not trivial. That's the kind of number that makes accountants cry, the psychological split between a newcomer seeing danger and a veteran seeing confirmation that the system is working exactly as designed. The flame means gas is being handled. The flame means the process is running. The flame means everyone goes home. A flare that goes out unexpectedly is not a relief, it is an alarm. It means something upstream in the process has changed in a way that was not planned. A drop in gas supply that shouldn't have happened, a pilot failure, a system upset. Control room operators watch flare performance continuously. Experienced process technicians can read the flame the way a doctor reads a pulse. Color shift toward black smoke means incomplete combustion. Something is wrong with the gas composition or the air-fuel ratio upstream. A clean blue-orange burn means normal operations, normal composition, normal flow rates. The flame is a diagnostic instrument as much as it is a safety device. Process supervisors saw it coming. They built entire monitoring protocols around flame behavior. Nobody listened when those protocols were first proposed, until the first time a color change caught a separator upset before the pressure alarms triggered. Pay attention to this next detail because it explains everything. The World Bank's Global Gas Flaring Tracker puts global flaring at approximately 140 billion cubic meters per year. 140 billion. That volume of natural gas contains enough energy to power the entirety of sub-Saharan Africa. It disappears into the atmosphere as heat and light every single year, continuously, from platforms and wellheads on every producing continent on Earth. Zoom into a single mid-size offshore platform. A facility producing 50,000 barrels of oil per day with a gas-to-oil ratio of 500 standard cubic feet per barrel is generating 25 million standard cubic feet of associated gas every day. At a conservative market value of $3 per thousand cubic feet, that is $75,000 of gas value per day going up the flare stack. Over a year, that is over $27 million in unrealized revenue from a single platform. The operators are not indifferent to this number. It appears on every reserves report, every field development review, every executive presentation. Regulatory pressure is accelerating. The World Bank's Zero Routine Flaring Initiative, backed by dozens of national governments and major operators, sets a target of eliminating routine flaring by 2030. Many jurisdictions, Norway, the United Kingdom, Nigeria, the United States, now require operators to submit flare reduction plans and face financial penalties for volumes above permitted thresholds. The economic incentive to stop flaring is absolutely real and growing, but infrastructure timelines run 5 to 10 years from concept to commissioning. Fields produce now. The gap between when gas is available and when infrastructure exists to capture it is where every flare dollar burns. The industry is not sitting still on this problem. Solutions exist. Each one carries a cost, a complexity, and a threshold below which it simply does not pencil out, but they are real, they are deployed, and they are changing the economics of associated gas management field by field. Gas reinjection is the most established alternative. Compression equipment takes the associated gas stream and pumps it back into the producing reservoir or a dedicated injection formation. This eliminates surface flaring entirely, maintains reservoir pressure, which can actually improve oil recovery rates, and defers the gas as a future resource. The downside is capital. Compression trains capable of handling high volumes at injection pressures run into tens of millions of dollars in equipment and installation costs. Gas to power converts the associated gas stream into electricity using gas turbines or reciprocating engines installed on the platform. This displaces diesel fuel consumption for power generation, diesel that must be shipped offshore at significant cost and logistics complexity. Some FPSOs have reduced diesel imports by 60 to 80% using this approach. The platform becomes partially self-powered by its own waste stream. LNG microplants are an emerging frontier. Small-scale liquefaction units, scaled for FPSO installation, can convert associated gas into liquid natural gas, transportable by conventional LNG tanker. Several pilot projects are underway in West Africa and Southeast Asia. The economics improve as the technology matures and unit costs drop. Gas lift uses re-injected gas in the wellbore itself to reduce the hydrostatic pressure on producing fluids, lifting oil to surface more efficiently. It uses the gas productively without requiring any export infrastructure whatsoever. Each of these solutions has a viability threshold,
a minimum field size, production rate, and remaining life that justifies the capital. Below that threshold, the flare remains the only compliant option available. Most people never heard about this part. The economics of remote offshore operations do not scale the way onshore economics do. Every cost multiplies. Equipment that costs $1 million onshore costs $3 to $5 million to engineer for offshore installation, transport to location, install subsea or topside, commission and maintain by personnel who arrive by helicopter, and cost the operator $12,000 to $20,000 per person per month in all-in costs. A small offshore field with a projected producing life of 8 years and peak production of 15,000 barrels per day simply cannot justify a $200 million gas export pipeline. The gas revenue over 8 years at realistic prices and realistic production decline curves does not return the capital. The numbers do not work. This is not a failure of will or a failure of technology. It is arithmetic. You'd think someone would have said something. Nobody did. At least not loudly enough to change the fundamental economics of frontier basin development. Operators in this position are not villains. They are engineers and project managers solving a logistics problem that has no perfect solution under current market conditions and current infrastructure realities.
The flare is often the only option that simultaneously satisfies the safety requirement, gas must go somewhere controlled, and the economic constraint. The capture infrastructure cannot be justified at this field size and location. The same economics that make remote deepwater production viable in the first place, high oil prices justifying high development costs, are the economics that strand the associated gas with no viable route to market. The same decision that built the offshore industry's remote basin success was about to destroy any easy path to eliminating the flare. New crew members ask why the flame never goes out. Veterans answer the same way every time, because without it, nobody goes home. The real question isn't why they burn it, it's what changes when they finally don't. Subscribe so you catch that answer when it arrives.